So, a very good evening. My topic of presentation is grammar translation method, and this is a type of a method to learn foreign languages, for instance, English. So, this particular video depicts as to how I will explain this method to someone who is not familiar with it. So the contents of this particular video include the definition of grammar translation method, its features, its usage, both merits and demerits, one example, and a conclusion. So first of all, what basically is this method? So you see, this method is quite old, but it is still considered very important in many places. There are still teachers and students which are involved in this type of method. This method is totally dependent on grammatical rules. Like, for example, if you have to learn a language, for example, English, so you have to start learning this from grammatical rules. And specifically, these rules are very much connected to, the rules of the native language. So basically what they do is they start comparing your native language to the target language, like that. So during these classes of grammar translation method, so translation of certain sentences or reading passages are done mostly, and this particular method is based specifically on like cramming and learning of grammar rules. So what are the characteristics of this grammar translation method? This is a method where grammatical rules are emphasized, as I already explained. The concepts are majorly writing and reading, and the role of the mentor is major in the classroom, whereas the students, they have a less role to play. Vocabulary is emphasized. Basically, a list of words is provided by the teacher, wherein the students' effort is to cram that list, and no matter like are they practically able to use it or not, but they have to start from cramming things like grammar rules and vocabulary words. Then how is grammar translation method used? So this method, as I already explained, is used by learning various antonyms, synonyms, and the teacher helps the students to connect with the daily life, and with the help of their native language they target the foreign language, and they start memorizing some spellings and words, as I already mentioned. So yeah, there are certain advantages which are associated with the grammar translation method. First of all, for a teacher it's easy because there's nothing much to do. They have to explain a set of rules, and this is how it goes. So I would say marking and scoring also become easy. Students work on their basics like when they are learning rules, so it might take a lot of time for, if I have to talk about a disadvantage, but they make a base for them. So of course, as I was explaining, the drawbacks are like speaking module is totally ignored and there is no communication, and this process is quite long. It might be advantageous for the teacher, but for a student I do not agree. So a person who wants to learn English, for instance, he or she might take around like many days, like many months to year to learn a language, which is, I think, not justified in this modern competitive world when people have less time already. And you know, just thinking that you should learn a language in such a long time is not a good idea, because especially English, which is a global language, and it is very, very important. It is high time that each and every person on earth should know it, because um, it is used everywhere and is the only mode of communication in many countries when you are traveling or migrating. So relying on grammar translation method at that point of time is not a good idea, because it will take very long time to expertise. Speaking part is ignored because mostly the focus remains on the concept that you just have to think about basically the reading and the words and the translations. You hardly get any time to speak up, so there are no questions put up by the teacher. So because it's all about grammatical rules and not about speaking the language, so I think that is a big drawback. That is a big drawback. So if I talk about the example to grammar translation method, I have taken up an example from my own experience. So for example, an IELTS tutor. So I have seen many IELTS tutors teaching like this. They simply try to focus on crammed sentences. Like sometimes a student is like, oh, my English is weak, so what should I do with my writing module? So for example, they would give a template to them, and they would explain by translating it into another language, and say, yeah, just remember that this word means this, and this is how you can remember it. And that's a type of cramming. They explain the grammar in it, the sentences, they explain the meaning of the words, but they forget to mention that if suddenly out of the blue a new topic comes up in the exam, then how they can handle it. For instance, there is a sentence that I have marked in red. That is, the teacher says, whatever essay you get, you have to write this sentence. The importance of dash, the topic, add the topic in the dash, which was always a debatable topic, has now become controversial, with many people claiming that it is beneficial while others criticizing it. So now they will explain like what is the meaning of importance, what is the meaning of debatable, what is controversial. So this is, they will convert it into their native language and explain it. And they will tell that this is the sentence you have to use and put in the topic in the dash part. But then they forget that if a new type of essay comes in suddenly, then the student will be unable to handle this situation. Although I'm not completely criticizing this method, because sometimes it helps very weak students. However, it will definitely not make a person veteran in a certain language. So that is what I'm trying to convey through this. So in a conclusion, I would say that grammar translation methods has many advantages, of course, but the disadvantages are considerable, and I think better methods should be adopted.